Here's a guy who thinks atheism is dumb.
Atheism is the dumbest philosophy to ever face humanity. Why is it dumb? Why is it stupid? Well, number one, it makes no common sense.
But the idea that a timeless, spaceless, disembodied mind exists is totally coherent and has no logical problems at all, right?
We all know that the universe had an origin.
No, we don't.
There was a time when there was nothing.
No, there wasn't. That doesn't even make any sense. It's a blatantly self-contradictory statement. Obviously, there can't be a time when there was nothing because there would have been time during that time. That's something. There was never a time when time did not exist. And since the universe is the space-time continuum, whenever there is time, the universe exists.
And we all know it's not possible for nothing to create something.
We also know that it's not possible to turn nothing into something, but that's what you want us to believe that God did. The fact that you can't get something out of nothing is one of the ways in which we know that there never was nothing. In the 13.7 billion years that time has existed, there has always been something. There has never been nothing.
So where did the first elements of the universe come into existence?
Where did they come into existence? They came into existence wherever there were protons and electrons. According to CERN, the first hydrogen atoms formed a few 100,000 years after the Big Bang. If you want to know where they came from energy, and that energy has always existed.
Well, in order for that to happen, you have to have someone outside the universe make it.
No, you don't. You just need protons, electrons, and the electromagnetic force to make the first atoms. Those all already existed by the time the first chemical elements formed. And since the universe is the space-time continuum, what would it mean for something to be outside of the universe? Outside is a spatial orientation. You can't have a spatial orientation independent of space itself. That's a contradiction.
That's common sense.
No, it's self-contradictory gobbledygook.
But the second reason why atheism is dumb and stupid and foolish is that it's bankrupt morally. Even atheists admit that there is a moral universe.
I don't even understand what that means, let alone admit it. What would it mean for the universe to be moral? Does the universe per se do moral things? And even if atheism were bankrupt morally, that wouldn't mean that it's false or that it's dumb to believe it.
That there's a sense of what's right and wrong.
There are multiple, often contradictory senses of what's right and wrong. That's one of the reasons that I don't believe that right and wrong are objective. There is no universal sense of right and wrong.
So atheists have to try to grapple with where do we get our sense of ethics and morals?
We get them from evolution and culture. It doesn't take that much grappling to realize that fact. However, I suspect that when you ask where we get these things, you're not asking for an explanation of their origin, but rather an objective justification. I don't believe that there is any objective justification, and that's true even if there is a God. Because even if there is a God who dictates morality to us, there is no objective, non-circular reason why we ought to follow God's moral system.
So in the end, without God, then atheists begin to change those moral fabrics.
Right, because no theists have ever altered a culture's conception of morality ever.
And before you know it, atheists, they adopt a morality based on natural evolution.
No, we don't. Ironically, it seems to me to be far more common for theists to make moral arguments based on evolution. For example, it is far more common for me to hear theists say things like being gay is bad for the gene pool, or that immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country. Atheists are more likely to understand that evolution is descriptive, not prescriptive. Sure, nature is red in tooth and claw, as the saying goes, but a description of how human beings got here is not a prescription for how we should proceed, especially considering the fact that we live in a very different ecosystem from the one in which we evolved.
That only the strong survive.
That's not even what evolution says descriptively, let alone prescriptively. If that were true, then insular dwarfism would never occur. This is a phenomenon in which, when large animals are confined to islands, various selection pressures make the runts of the litter better able to survive than their bigger, stronger siblings, and generation over generation, these animals shrink in size.
Only the strong rule the weak. Only the smart conquer.
Again, this is not what the theory of evolution says.
So what happens is, in the end, unborn babies that are weak and unprotected, slaves that could not fight for themselves.
Where in the Bible does it say that you should fight to defend slaves? I know where it says you may buy slaves, but I don't know where it says that you should fight to defend slaves per se.
Minorities that could not defend themselves.
Yes, we all know how much Christian conservatives love defending minorities.
It's too bad because in atheism, In the end, it's only the strong that should survive. So everyone else who's weak and sickly should all die and go by themselves, you know?
Atheism doesn't make any moral prescriptions. Neither does evolution. Evolution is descriptive, not prescriptive, and even descriptively, evolution does not say that only the strong survive.
And so we have atheism that is weak morally. And the few times that a country decided to implement atheism as its official philosophy, it all turned into communism.
Is that how it went? A bunch of atheists took over and then decided to make things communist? Was that the order of events?
Look at the Soviet Union and look at China.
Oh yeah, I remember when they had atheist revolutions that subsequently turned to communism.
Communism is the natural outgrowth of atheism.
Then why isn't every country that is majority atheist also communist? And why did Deng Xiaoping abandon communism? Did he secretly believe in God?
Because with atheism, there is no freedom. Because to an atheist, they're the smart ones, and they should rule the dumb ones.
Then why doesn't every majority atheist country take voting rights away from theists? Also, this is a bit rich considering the fact that there is no shortage of Christians who are dominionists who literally believe that they should have dominion over non-Christians.
So there's an elitist mentality that forms within atheism.
And apparently theists are never guilty of this.
It's an arrogant philosophy. It's a philosophy where people don't have freedom because people are too stupid to exercise that freedom. And to an atheist, they must tell the society how they must live and what they must believe in.
Do the Japanese do that? Do the South Koreans do that? People who believe in God are a minority in those countries, so why don't the arrogant non-believers take voting rights away from Christians?
And so in atheism, when it is practiced, we have seen terrible outcomes. I'm here to tell you the truth. If you're an atheist, you have adopted one of the dumbest and foolish philosophies known to the human race. And maybe that's why there's only 4% that even claim to be atheists. Because, as the Bible says, a fool has said in his heart, there is no God.
Well, what percentage of people say they are atheist varies from survey to survey. Of the surveys I could find, only the surveys with the lowest results, conducted in the United States, put the number as low as 4%. Several others place that number higher. Also, folks who call themselves atheist are not the only ones who don't believe in God. If you think that the idea that a God exists is so obvious and so consistent with common sense, you must not think much of agnostics either. But if you lump agnostics in with atheists, you get much bigger numbers. And you'll find a lot more very well-functioning free countries that are made up of a majority of non-believers. However, even if you didn't, pointing out how many people call themselves atheist is an argument ad populum. To everyone who helps me out on Patreon, you're a big help. Thanks so much.